Now it's a big choice you have each year. If you're planting your food plots, do you plant an annual or do you plant a perennial? You know, the choice is clear when it comes to deer hunting. You really want that November, fall, October, December, 2nd, behind November, September, January attraction and draw, or you can't build a deer herd. You can't have a good herd to hunt. And let's face it too, that time of year when everything in the wild and the natural habitat is shrinking in availability, whether it's natural native forbs and forages, even agricultural fields, mass production, a lot of that is shrinking drastically or even not available in November and December. So when you're offering food as much as you can at that time, you're really helping the critters, deer, wildlife in general. On the flip side, summer is a time of plenty unless you're down in the arid southwest, south, where it can be a very stressful time. When you're up north during the summer, deer don't want for anything. And so you have to run that balance. There's also the balance, of course, there's perennial plots. We have our perennial plot power, and it's full of perennial goodies of clover, alfalfa, chicory, birdsfoot trefoil, a really good diversity that I've come to really like over the decades. But it's something that you can actually plant and maintain for a very long time. It has a lot of usefulness to it, a lot of diversity. But we don't want that because we want to have the most food we can have in October, November, December. So on our perennial plot power, great for a pass-through, great for hunting plots, a location where you expect turkeys in the spring. And I'll show you this example behind me right here. You can see this point of this plot, about a 1/4 acre overall, is planted in a perennial, our perennial plot power. Perfect for turkeys going through. Fawns right now love it, but it's not a huge percentage of our overall. We have about 2 acres of perennial out of 18. Now we choose to do that because we want to maximize the tonnage and volume of food that we have going into the fall. And so we really focus on our cool season annuals where you'll get more bang for your buck, you'll get more volume. At the same time, there's always that place for the perennial. What we like to do is we, again, plant the perennial in our hunting plots, our little pass-through. What's interesting about that, whether you have in a small hunting plot a perennial blend, or you try to maximize that volume, and it's a small plot, say a 1/4 acre, 1/8 of an acre. You try to plant brassica, a great cool season annual. It gives you a lot of volume. Maybe a layer rye, oats, peas. There's a lot of options for annual cool season plantings that give a lot of volume. The problem is when it's that small and deer use it, every bite is not replaced and they eat it down to the dirt. No different than if it was a perennial. They'll eat it down to the dirt. So what we look at with a hunting plot is if you have that food available in that hunting plot as a perennial, and I'm talking a hunting, a small pass-through. This is not a hunting plot, this is a holding plot. It holds deer until dark, sends them off somewhere else, and they can live here on our cover that surrounds here in the bedding area, all the bedding areas we've cut and worked on, cutting down timber. They can live here, eat here, and then after dark they go somewhere else. That's a holding plot. Hunting plot is one, like for example, that little perennial plot back there, we can't get in on that and hunt because we're gonna spook deer. We can't blow our scent anywhere. We can't walk in, we can't walk out without spooking deer. We had a water hole down there to begin with. The previous landowner, we took that out immediately because it's in a location we can't hunt. It's too far back in, we're gonna spook deer. No matter how attractive it is, no matter how much it's in the middle of your deer movement, you can't hunt it if you're gonna spook deer. But we love those perennial plantings because on a hunting plot where a deer is going through to get somewhere else, it's the perfect scenario because that deer gets established as far as a using that in May, June, July, August, September, October. So when it does get down to the dirt, they've been using it for many, many months. And it's natural for them to continue that in their daily movement, their daily patterns, even if there's not much food on the ground. Case of Bo last year that I shot, 6-year-old, he was moving through a hunting plot, he wasn't taking a bite, he was just moving through looking for does in his daily habit that he'd had all summer, and it was natural for him to do so. We have what we call a bench plot. The bench plot is about 200 yards that way. Little skinny 1/4 acre plot, that's a hunting plot. You watch for them to pass through. So what we like to do is we have the bulk of our food plots in something of a cool season annual. We have corn on this side. We have buckwheat on this side. The buckwheat will plant our brassica blend, our fall power greens into. So we'll have really good green volume here, and then we have the corn over here. We'll flip that each year. The buckwheat is one of the best soil builders you can plant. We even have a soil builder blend. We have a food plot company. So if I thought there was something better than buckwheat, I would tell you to plant that. We have a soil builder blend. It's for those people, this buckwheat, we don't want it to get head high. We don't want it to be 4 to 6 feet high, and it's really hard for the average person to work into it, to use it and plant into it in the fall. We want that to be more thigh high, waist high, right around there. So when you have 10 weeks to plant, 12 weeks to plant, 14 weeks to plant during the summer, and you want something to soil build, then we want something that might have a little buckwheat into it. We want some medium red clover. We want a little oats or rye. We want the typical soil builders that work really well, singular, but we put them together in a small package so you don't have to actually worry about coming back in 8 weeks. We want to plant this for 7 weeks and that's it. So if you're the type of person you're not sure if you're going to leave that for 7 weeks or 12, then you'd plant maybe the soil builder, summer soil builder. But that being said, if you have a means and the way and the resources to plant buckwheat, and you can fix your timing, meaning on poor soil, big woods, you might want to plant that for 8 to 9 weeks. On great soil, like we have in this area, agricultural region, then you might want that more like 6 to 7 weeks. And if you're within that timing, buckwheat is the best. So we tell people, if you want buckwheat, go find it at your local feed mill. We sell it as a convenience to our customers, but it's not the type of proprietary blend that we can sell, and we'd rather see you spend less money somewhere else. We sell it purely as a convenience. That being said, all annual out here. You can see the percentage of perennial we have back there. Again, awesome for the few fawns that are around, but not big enough to build a doe factory where if this was all clover right here in perennial, we'd probably have 8, 10, 12 does and all their fawns out here every single night. And yeah, we might get a buck or two, but it's a very stressful situation. They're all on top of each other in a 2.5 acre field. And we choose not to do that. And that's why we have that percentage back there. Cool season annuals, lots of power. When we rotate buckwheat into corn, even this corn side next year, we plant rye in the spring. So that comes up in here and gives us a cover crop. We can plant the greens into the following year. So we're always trying to improve the soil. And what I've found is it's a slow go. You can improve the soil over time. You keep improving every single year a little bit, but you don't sacrifice your fall and your hunting. A lot of times people wonder, well, what should I plant in that little corner back there? We have our fall power and our big boost brassica. That's what our cool season annuals are, our green blend and our brassica blend. But we have big boost brassica 365, so we have big boost 365. And then we have our fall power greens and we have our fall power 365. Both of those are manipulated a little bit, so you have a higher success rate of putting a perennial blend as a base. And so we can go into that area, we can go into our new bench area over there, bench plot, and we can plant either the big boost 365, our fall power 365, or a combination of both, stripped side by side, not mixed, but side by side. And then what we're left with is that perennial base for the following year. So we'll hit it with that cool season annual. We'll pick which one we think is best, or blend both of them if we have enough room. And then you're left with that 365. So to me, the best time to plant a perennial is in the fall. It's at a time when weeds are dying. It's at a time when moisture's on the increase, and then you get another shot of moisture in the spring. And then you also can layer that, so you have a cool season annual that gives you a good oomph going into the season, and then you have that perennial base the following year. That's why we call it Big Boost 365 and Fall Power 365. So what should you plant? You know, sometimes it gets down to we have the time, and this is what we do for a living, to come out here and try to create really pretty plots and do our best with them, plant whatever it takes to get the job done and to build our herd and have a great hunt. Some people, though, have to plant their food plots and leave them, and that's where the perennial comes in. So with that being said, you want a perennial that has diversity, like the diversity we've talked about. You don't want a lot of coatings in it. You want to have a good mix, no weed seeds, no inert matter. It's a bad thing. And you want to plant that and leave it alone. And even that perennial back there, it's just about time to be mowed. We actually have some grasses coming in. We can spray clethodim on it, get the grasses out, and we're constantly maintaining that. But we can mow it, spray clethodim on it maybe every 2 or 3 years, and we'll be able to mow it 2 or 3 times a year, and we'll keep that for a decade or more. There's no reason to till it up, disc it up, or do anything. So you can have it all. You can have your annual plots, maybe that's what you have to plant. Your perennial plots, maybe you're in a spot where you can plant those and give some life to hunting plots. Maybe you're in herd building mode. And in the UP of Michigan, I built my herds back then in the late 90s, 2000s by planting a perennial base. I'd rotate it every year with a cool season annual, cut the field in half, do it over again the following year, so I had clover every summer. That helped me build a herd. When I got to my herd numbers that I wanted to keep and maintain, then I cut the perennial out. And that way I wasn't attracting more and more does and fawns into fawning grounds. So there's a lot of uses for perennial and annuals. Hopefully the information we share on this channel, we can steer you in the right direction. I can tell you what I'm doing, but maybe you're in a wilderness section, maybe you're in a wooded section in Kentucky. You want to establish a pattern of use. You make sure you have that perennial growing in the summertime. You want to build a herd. You keep that perennial in the summertime. But for us, it's all about using perennials for hunting plots, using our cool season annuals to not only attract deer during the fall and winter, but to actually give them a big boost before winter time at a time where it's lacking in the woods. And then certainly to actually improve the soil by constant rotations and having a complete coverage like buckwheat during the summertime so that we avoid erosion. We actually build the soil. We have a smother crop that smothers weeds. We hold moisture down below because it's complete canopy. And then we're putting fine organic matter back in the soil as opposed to sorghum or corn, which is high organic matter, very poor organic matter, because although it's putting something into the soil a lot, it's taking from the soil to break down, just like standing rye too. So there's a lot to consider. I hope some of this information will help you make some choices this year. And you can see over the decades I've used both, and they all serve their purpose. And all the plantings, keep following this channel, and we'll try to give you as much information as we can to keep you on track for choosing annuals, perennials, both, or just plain building your food plot program to actually build a great deer herd, great wildlife populations, and a great hunt for this fall.